Next slide. Beware of the dog. The Pumpkin Project, you can get information about that on our website at greentreenaturals.com. We do next slide. Man, I went through that fast, but since we started late, I didn't want to get us too late. So really, the bottom line is there's never enough time, and there wasn't enough time for this. I mean, I usually would have done this talk in a couple of hours. Instead, we did it in about 40 minutes. So the bottom line is we do what we do because we love it, and you need to love what you're doing, because if you love marketing and you love growing food, you're gonna be successful. So thank you for the opportunity to share. I know that was a lot really fast, but take some time to review those slides, and I'm going to pass it back to the team.
Great, thanks, Diane. We do have a couple of questions. The first is, do you have a commercial kitchen or special licenses to serve your Sunday brunch?
We are not doing the Sunday brunch anymore, and when we were doing that, we did that for 3 years. We did not, the health regs did not require that we did a commercial kitchen at that time. Now they do, unless if you're doing an event that's associated, like a one-time event for like a farm dinner or something like that, that's tied to a nonprofit or an educational endeavor, a commercial kitchen is not required. Well, I think this is probably a county by county thing. So it depends. So in the Sunday brunch case, no. But in a lot of our other events, because it's sponsored by a nonprofit and it's a one-time event, it does not require that. But it is county by county, so you need to check your health regs.
Great, thanks. Another question that came in asks about rotating your hens, and just to clarify, this participant was wondering, does that mean that you cull them every 2 years? And if you could explain that.
We rotate our hens every 2.5 years, so yes, we cull them out. While they will continue laying for longer than that, as we have priced it out, and really if you look at any of the materials on raising chickens, it's pretty much after 2.5 years. If you use lights in the second year to force them get as many eggs as you can out of them, it's pretty much not cost effective to keep them longer than 2.5 years. And what we do, we just put an ad on the local newspaper, sell them for $5 a piece, and let people take them. We used to butcher them, but I'd rather eat a 8-week-old bird than a 2.5-year-old bird. So we either sell them or give them away.
There's 2 more questions. One is about parking and how much parking do you have to accommodate such large groups? And the other question is asking about whether you pre-wash the berries that you have at the farmer's market that are eaten on site.
Parking, we have a pretty good size area. We keep an area open that's big enough for a school bus to turn around, or we can park about, we can probably get 30 cars down there if we have a parking attendant, and that's something, if you have events and you're limited parking, you have to have somebody there as a parking attendant, or people will park insanely and you'll get half the cars in there. So we have a good area, and we keep it open just for that. As far as the berries, we do not wash our berries, other than if we're going to offer them as a sample, we will. And the berries that we sell, as people take them, I let them know that they have not been rinsed, because they don't last if you rinse them. So I just let the customers know that.
Great. I think we're going to launch a couple more polls, and if you can get your mouses ready. This question asks, for your main enterprise, what kinds of methods do you anticipate using to get the word out about your product? Select one or more of the following. Are you going to use word of mouth, flyers, postcards, other paper-based media, maybe the newspaper? social media, Facebook, Twitter, etc., other internet search engines, or you really haven't even thought about it yet. So 57% of you have voted. In the interest of time, we'll try to wrap this up in the next couple seconds. 71% of you have voted. And I'm going to close the poll in just a few seconds. 86%, 93%. Okay. Oh, good, 100%. So 93% of you are choosing to use word of mouth. 57% may also use flyers, postcards, and other paper-based. 57% are looking at social media. That's pretty interesting because last time we taught this course, I don't believe it was that high. And 14% of you haven't even thought about it yet, which is fine. So the next question is whether or not you would like to have customers visit your farm or ranch. And of course, pretty straightforward question, yes, no, or maybe. And we'll close that poll here in a couple seconds. 100% of you have voted yes. 64% of you want to have customers on the farm or ranch at some point. Only 7% have said no, and 29% maybe thinking about it. All right, on to Melissa's section of this presentation. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Hello, everybody. It's Melissa again. Glad to see you here tonight. Next slide, Cinda. In reading over your introductions and the survey you took at the beginning of the course, it looks to me like about half of us are thinking about or are thinking about raising livestock. So this half of the talk is going to focus totally on livestock, and then in the latter half of it, I'm going to get into marketing with a website. Next slide, please. I've mentioned several times in previous webinars here that you make much more money direct marketing. And I thought, well, it might be fun to get real specific here and give you some specific examples. And I gave you the example of spinning quality wool, if it's good quality wool. If you sell it conventionally, you might get $1 a pound. You can sell it for $20 a pound if you direct market it. That's a $150 difference in the income. That's pretty significant. Finished grass-fed lamb, difference is almost double between the sale yard and direct marketing. Now, these prices from the sale yard, I just want you to know they vary day to day and week to week. This is an average price I have found in December. In the fall, it's usually a little less because there's more available, higher volume. For beef, it's not double your money direct marketing, but it's up there, boy. It's still well worth thinking about. Cinda, next slide. But judging by that poll, everyone has already made this decision. So here's one more way to look at it and go through comparing the two. Conventional, you do no work, no contact with customers whatsoever, which can be good. The biggest downside, as I see, is you take the price you get, and you take the price that you get that particular day you take your animals. It depends on what buyers are there, what they're looking for, how many animals are available. You don't get a voice in it. And if you've had some sort of problem with your animals and the quality's lower, maybe they're thin, you get a lower price, but you still sell them and you make less money. Direct marketing, yes, it's more work. You have those wonderful one-on-one relationships with customers, and this is key. You set your price. And the downside of that, of course, is if you have a bad year, you have a lower quality product, yikes, they might not come back. That's the downside of gaining the maximum income. So you're weighing these these two possibilities and just, what works for you. Possibly, not yet, Cinda, possibly selling maybe part of your product at the sale yard. If you're not able to direct market them, at least you can take them to the sale yard and make something. It's kind of nice to know that you have that in your back pocket. Now I'm ready, Cinda. Next slide. Okay, once you've made the decision you're going to direct market, next slide, you have to think about the legalities of it. The regulations are, if you want to sell meat to people, to sell meat, that's the operative word here, it must be processed in a USDA inspected facility and labeled with the product, your name, and the USDA logo. There is an exemption if a farmer sells the live animal and the consumer pays the farmer directly for the animal and the processor for the processing. That is the exemption I operate under in selling my lambs, beef, and pork. And this package here is some lamb chops that I had packaged for myself from a lamb I raised this year. And this is what it looks like. And you see it says right there, not for sale. I could not take that package to the farmer's market. I couldn't take it to the Moscow co-op. I can't even sell it to my neighbor legally. So pay attention to the rules. Find out the rules in your area. The USDA rule for chickens, and there is, you can, if you raise them on your farm, you can raise, slaughter on your farm, and sell up to 20,000 chickens without inspection. The state of Idaho follows that regulation. Your county may have slightly different regulations. Again, you need to check for yourself where you live. Eggs have to be clean and labeled with the producer's name. And one more thing, they need to be, labeled with ungraded. Right, ungraded. There's a, and this says up to 3,000 laying hens. That's wrong. It's 300 laying hens. If you have more than 300 laying hens, there are going to be more regulations you need to follow. So again, some states follow the federal regulations, some follow some of them and then have their own, and then counties also have their own regulations. Check with both. In Idaho, Idaho has its state regulations, but it is administered by the 7 health districts within the state of Idaho. So if you lived in Moscow, you'd look under Latah County, find health district, call and find out what the regulations are for selling your product in this county. I'm really not going to spend any more time on that because it differs state to state, county to county, but please check into it, find out, get legal. Next slide, Cindy. Okay, so once you've done that homework, who are you going to market to? The more you know about your customers, the more you can tailor all of your marketing efforts to who they are. Next slide, Cinda. We've done some of this work in last week's assignments. Define your target market, figure out who they are. In broad terms, this is what I wrote up for my farm years ago. I want people who believe what I believe, who share my beliefs in sustainable agriculture and humane animal raising methods. This is really important to me. And of course, they have to be willing to support farmers who follow those practices. Next slide, Cinda.